Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Premier League presentation. I'm Blaze, bringing you guys Game 2 of this Best of 3 series. We're looking at Fnatic versus mouzsports. Game 1 was amazing. It was such a fun game. If you're watching a VOD and you haven't checked out Game 1, just jump on into it because I'm going to spoil it a little bit and talk about the fact that it was so back and forth. It was so awesome with the boots travels all over the place. The split push lineup is something they weren't prepared for. mouzsports really wanted to go 5 versus 5. They needed those big Magnus RPs, the gyrocopter to get on in there, but with them playing cat and mouse all day long with Weaver and the fact that they can always jump him right back with that Keep Your Lights recall, it just made it them so flexible to split push away. And what it meant is that when they had one racks down, they couldn't stay out as 5 up on top lane forever. They had a ticking time bomb of their base getting destroyed, and they had to actually initiate before PAS was ready. He couldn't find his circle. He was looking for that tiny opportunity, and all Fnatic had to do was just wait. They were raring to go. The trap was set. Everything was active and working perfectly, and it played out really, really nicely. So, well played to them. But moving on into Game 2, let's just hope we get as much action as last one. Going to be hard to top, but one thing that helps that along is bringing back a couple of issues with the two individuals from mouzsports have been resolved, whether through illness or connection issues. Black and Fada are back on in. So that's going to be really, really interesting. And seeing their full 4-man, possibly 5-man rosters. Quokova isn't confirmed in any way, shape, or form, but he's played with them quite a bit. So we'll see if he is number 5. But for right now, all 4 official mouzsports members are in the game, and we're going to have an awesome best of 3 to finish this up versus Fnatic. Banning phase kind of taken some time, so glad I kind of had a extensive intro to cover that, but this is going on forward going to be very unique. Seeing the Keeper Light, Darkseer, Wisp, and Magnus banned out opens up this Batrider, opens up this Nyx, and it's going to be a very different game, honestly. I think that Fnatic picking up that Lifestealer was a really good play because Nyx bombs are so common for mouzsports. Jumping in with a Batrider that has Blink, get investing inside him, suddenly it's just this 2 versus 1 out of nowhere, and you have the disables, you have the damage, and it's almost as powerful as Wisp CK. It's really, really strong. It only has 1200 versus global range initiation, but it's still very powerful, and I think it's smart for Fnatic to actually pick up the Lifestealer for themselves, even though the Flaming Lasso counteracts it a little bit. One thing to note is the Nyx Assassin also is pretty good against Bat. With that Carapace stunning out his Firefly, it's pretty much a very controlled, up to 2.7 second disable. So, definitely something to keep tabs on. Actually, it's 2.5. My apologies on that, but not a big deal. As we move on forward, though, mouzsports having that Batrider and having his potential either in the jungle or in the mid lane is going to make sure that they can really, really put damage out really quickly. Look for that Blink Dagger, but not willing to ban him out, but if you have to play for against Phantom Lancer, or whether they had played as Phantom Lancer for a long time, they're going for it again. They feel that he is just too powerful to let go, and even if they've already picked up a Lifestealer, they want to have this PL before he's banned. They want to play their style with, this time, Black picking up the PL, and try to see what they can accomplish with that. So, we'll see. It's pretty interesting, but yeah, he's going to be very, very contributional. He will have some mana issues without the Keeper Lights of Illuminate, or Chakra Magic, but he will be able to have some stability in the Shadow Demon's Disruption. As far as his illusions go, propagating on through, it's pretty much a free Manta style, but only for 8 seconds, so you have to make him count, but it can help out a lot. It can definitely build up that army much more swiftly than before. But Fnatic are going for something aggressive, something unorthodox, something dynamic. I love all 3 of those things, and we see the Undying picked up. It's not necessarily unorthodox in the circumstances of the metagame right now, but picking it up to coincide with a Nyx and a Lifestealer. Is that going to be a solo offlane Undying? Because the Nyx Assassin and the Undying, although they have tons of lane presence, have huge amounts of aggression, they're both melee. They both don't have that long-range harassment that really packs a punch and forces the carry off the creep wave. So in this situation, what are we looking at here? Are we looking at a solo Undying and a dual lane of Lifestealer, Nyx Assassin, and one to-be-named support down on bottom? Or are we seeing the emergence of a triple melee tri-lane that's just so darn beefy with the Carapace and the just raw strength of Lifestealer and Undying to be able to stay on the front lines? Are they just going to go balls to the walls and just pound away with their large disables, the Impale into the Tombstone, etc.? It could be powerful. They do need to ban out the Gyrocopter. That's pretty much guaranteed in my mind, and I'm pretty sure they will with one of their last 2. Alright then. So we see the Nature Prophet banned out as well as the Queen of Pain, taken out of hands Trixie's potential to offlane with either of those heroes there. Also the mid option of the Quap is not something they wanted to have to deal with. So taking those two out, good bans against Hani, against Trixie. And we'll see what's going to be coming out next. But the Bane and Chen, what they noted is that the Shadow Demon, he's a great support, but he needs some follow-up. Either with the Bane, actually the Bane isn't very follow-up. I'm going to just cut off that line of thought and move on towards the Chen, which has the potential to move in the Hellbear, move in the Centaur Conqueror, as he's called now, and just move in for some big stuns, some big slows, some kind of damage that is very well set up by the disruption. So those kind of combos work well together so that you can control the game early and then transition into a nice push through the Holy Persuasion, through the Disrupt. They don't want to deal with it. I'm curious if they'll take the same mindset towards the Enchantress that they did just now with the Chen, or if they're just going to leave it as is. So, we are waiting on the last ban from Mouse Sports. As far as reserve time, they have just over a minute left, so they have plenty of time to consider what they don't want to go up against. But so far, they've been banning Intellect solos. Maybe a Puck is something that they want to be taking off the table. I mean, Hani isn't really known for that kind of going for the Venomancer. Interesting. That just kind of killed my train of thought, but yeah, I haven't really seen Venomancer in a lot of games recently, but he synergizes nicely with the Undying. It kind of puts them in the same pot where the TPs will come out. If they use the Nyx Assassin stun initially, that's pretty much all they've got. They've got the Open Wounds, Tombstone, and the Gale, which could, as we've seen last game, be very, very well exploited so that they can just send themselves back to base without getting disabled. But other than that lack of synergy and the kind of overlapping redundancy, I guess you could say, of the slowing mechanics, they are a very powerful combo. Gale into Tombstone guarantees at least 3 zombies, and unless you're willing to right-click away at a bunch of zombies over and over, or at the Tombstone itself, you're going to be caught in a really bad position, slowed down, and Lifestealer will be able to eat at you. Quite literally, actually, with those vicious fangs. Ooh. Anywho, looking for this last ban, Fnatic looking to ban out another support. Depends really on what they want to pick up here, what kind of aggressive plays they want to go on through. The Bane, it doesn't really work with the Shadow Demon directly. I kind of think they play the same role with the Disruption and the Nightmare to set things up. But what he doesn't have as far as that kind of synergy, he makes up in the fact that he's a hard counter to Lifestealer. He has a Fiend's Grip, he has the Enfeeble, both piercing on through Magic Immunity, as long as one is cast prior. But anyways, that taken off the board so that Lifestealer can stay on target is pretty important, because the Demonic Purge, the Lasso, that's already enough to disable, but if they add it on top of that, the Bane, Lifestealer would be completely useless. Era on his key iconic hero would just be literally torn from direction to direction, completely controlled, and have really no say in what's going on around him. Finally, the ban of the Gyrocopter, like I said, standard ban with the fact that Mouse Sports love them, pick them every single day they can, and on top of that, countering out these zombies. Don't want to have to deal with that. Brewmaster picked up for Mouse Sports, though. I've seen this work for them. I've seen this work against them. It's a very great pick no matter what. But as far as what kind of results they're going to have with them, it really relies on the case-by-case basis of when they get those stuns off, when they use those disables, specifically if prior to certain abilities, specifically the Lifestealer Rage, kind of nullifying that a lot, but they're looking at other targets. They're thinking Fnatic might want to do their dual core strat where they have split pushing all over the place, and they're going to instead go for a Rubik for the moment at least. And most likely, No Tail will pick that back on up. But it's a really great steal. It's a really great option because Rubik can spell steal Brewmaster so very effectively. Brewmaster has a gigantic cast animation on every single one of his abilities. It's actually pretty... I used to know the number on it, but it's really high. It's at least 0.3. Either way, there's plenty of time between the claps, between the primal splits. Rubik wants something, he will get it. He just needs to be looking at him, throw that spell steal after the split ends. Suddenly, you have your own Rublings. I like to call them, as they are Brewlings in his hands. Why not Rublings in Mr. Rubik? But anyways, No Tail will be playing that up and doing some damage there. Era picking up the Lifestealer. We'll have to see how the rest get played out. If they're going to run Nyx as a mid for Hani, or just use him as a support by Fly to control the lanes more effectively. Probably a support. Probably want that Undying to go on the off lane solo, but who knows. A lot of different ways to do it. And we actually see a Visage come out from Mouse Sports. This is going to be weird. This is going to be very, very, very weird, but it could work out for them very nicely. I mean, Visage is one of those heroes that can put a lot of damage in all of a sudden. He gets that Soul Assumption off. He just needs a little bit of that Disruption, Spirit Lance action to get those charges rolling, and then suddenly Soul Assumption, bam, that hero such as Undying, who wants to survive as long as possible in the fight. He wants to be able to dish out his damage and amplify damage by being close in proximity. If he's on the front lines, he's at half HP, and then suddenly he just loses 400 health straight up, that's going to completely ruin his potential to actually stay up and going and benefit from the longer the fight goes on. So Visage with those Soul Assumptions, going to be a solid counter pick in that regard, and we'll see how it plays out. But as far as their lanes, I'm thinking Shadow Demon, Phantom Lancer, Visage up top. They're going to put the Brewmaster back on the mid, and then Batrider decides between the jungle and the off lane. 3.510 or 311, we'll have to see. Finally, Fnatic, seeing the Visage pickup, one thing that they can do is try to make sure that familiars are locked down. That's a lot of bounty that they can acquire and have a lot of potential to get some big items on out of it. Actually, I'm remembering a Team Liquid versus Mouse games in the defense. Oh my gosh. Getting so many familiars fed to a Gyrocopter will definitely result in a little bit of farm here and there. Either way, I digress, but I'm just saying Visage has to be careful about how he plays with his ultimate, or it can actually really bite him in the ass. He can just be feeding tons of gold to the Lifestealer or to the Undying to get either really, really high amounts of DPS or a lot of durability, kind of bouncing back and forth between the two. But we do see the Silencer get picked up, and I'm curious how this is going to work out for them. Hani is going to be picking that up, and no, Hani picks up Nyx. This is a support Silencer and a mid Nyx Assassin. Now that's something. I guess they're going for an aggressive tri-lane. The way I'm seeing it here is that based on these player pickups, I'm not 100% certain, but I think they want to run Undying on safe lane, pressure this Phantom Lancer with a Nyx Lifestealer Silencer top. And if they can pull this off, they're going to shut down Phantom Lancer hard. I already talked about the fact that the Batrider is not going to be really wanting to abandon the lane. He wants to go on the lane instead of going on the jungle. But in this position here, they're going to need all the help they can get up on top. What is he selling? I don't know. Anyways, no, but this position here, although Mousesports has an amazing defensive tri-lane, they have the Visage, they have the Shadow Demon, in this position here, they're going to have to play it very close to the chest if they're going to be able to hold on to the aggression coming out. We see No-Tail actually going for a supportive. Awesome. This is interesting. So, they have four kind of, they have the Rubik picked up by Fly, they have the Undying picked up by No-Tail, and they're actually not going to run this Undying solo at all. They're going to go in the front lines with it, use Open Wounds and Telekinesis to make sure that Tombstone is propagating as much as possible. They're going to run a solo on Trixie, and they're going to run his Silencer specifically, and they're going to run a solo on Hani and his Nyx. So two big, quick damage dealers that will deal a lot of damage to high intellect heroes like this Visage, and I think it's going to be really, really powerful if they can just control their lanes appropriately, which I don't see why they can't. Nyx on the mid, Trixie on the safe lane, they'll be able to do quite a bit. Alright, so we do see Tango's pulled up the Phantom Lancer. They want to make sure Black can farm safe and sound as best as possible. We'll see how that pays off, but it's going to be difficult. Even with the Visage, even with the Shadow Demon, Fnatic is here to stay. They want to really dig their roots in and just entrench themselves on this top lane, getting kills left and right. And now, with this vision, Black knows it. They're showing it right to his face and saying, come get us, come try to get these creeps. Because No-Tail is here to try to make sure that he can control an area denial. We're going to see these skirmishes go fast and furiously, but the bottom line is the Tombstone is going to be pretty much the floor is lava in that situation. It's a huge area denial that the longer they stay there, the more screwed over they're going to be. The disruption illusions can help that out a little bit, but in general, once No-Tail drops that Tombstone, if they're anywhere nearby, they're going to have to get out immediately or face the consequences. As far as detection, Sentry Wards up on Rubik really make them capable of exploiting this position. Along with that, the ward coming out blocks off at least the first spawn, but the 1 minute will be negated assuming the Sentry Ward was placed as appropriately as it needs to be. There's a very big difference between these two spots, so we'll see. But I believe it will be spawning. Anyways, down on bottom lane, we're going to see this matchup between Trixie and Kokova, and as long as he has a magic stick, which indeed he does, Trixie's going to be in an A-OK position. He won't be perfect, but okay, a lot of damage coming from Black. This is what I'm kind of talking about. They have a lot of burst potential. Just using, they didn't use telekinesis though. I think that's just a misplay on Black. They used the open wounds. He hesitated substantially for using that doppelwalk, thinking that PAS could be high participation. But going for Grave Chill at the very beginning means that he could not soul assumption. He could not actually retaliate with big damage. Instead, just wanted to peel a little bit away with that slowing effect. Another nice interaction between heroes is the Brewmaster versus the Nyx Assassin on mid. Pretty much what we're looking at there is the Carapace can be used at any time to try to counteract the Brewmaster's damage from his clap and actually stun him out as well. It gives Hani a huge opening to actually retaliate with a ton of damage. The problem with that is Brewmaster can always cancel that clap. He can always just throw it up and then cancel it out, just fake out the opposition, and he can do that pretty much all day long. So Brewmaster generally won't actually clap until the Carapace is wasted, but if he finds an opportunity where he can fake him out and get some CS with it, he'll definitely take it. So we do see these camps spawn, but it's just going to be a single pull coming out of Alex. And it looks like he's going to be able to get pretty much full experience out of that, but not denying too much. Fly, a little cheeky with that Fade Bolt, pulling away the wave and getting a little bit of golden XP for himself. So, looking at the last hits, we see the Batrider controlling for now 10 last hits, and although the Silencer is doing alright and Trixie will be able to survive, as far as winning the lane, that's a completely different story. Quokova can just put out so much aggression, and despite getting silenced occasionally, I don't know how much Silencer can really hold the line. He'll get plenty of mana from that Magic Stick, from a couple of Clarities he's already popped off, but long term, the Batrider is going to get that level 6, and then he's going to have control, gank up in the mid lane possibly, we'll have to see. Alright, so double pull coming out for Mousesports. Going to be able to try to control things a little bit more. Actually, that's not exactly accurate. The pull was actually a single pull coming in from the Radiant creeps over to the east, allowing Black to farm up both the enemy neutrals and the enemy lane creeps here. So he's actually bumping up on CS quite a bit. He was starting out at below 9 and now cruising up a little bit, but they want to go. They have the open wounds. They're going to follow up with the telekinesis. He does, however, get out of Sentry Robe range with the Doppelwalk. Now coming on to get a little bit of free gold, 70 for the Visage actually, to set him off on the right track for a Flying Courier, which is already up, so he can just put that towards boots in no time at all. Anywho, back on mid, more action between these two, but yeah, now that Carapace is gone, I think that Fata is generally going to have a good time on the mid lane here. Back and forth, but what we see is that 13 CS is up for Trixie, but Quokova is taking a few hits here and there, down to 2 tangos, only has so much more to work with. The mana on Black is still stable enough that he can Doppelwalk out once more, but that Sentry Ward is still available on Fly. He's raring to go to make sure that he can try to keep that up over and over and over again, and if he can get a kill onto the Phantom Lancer early, it's going to completely change how this laning phase works out. But for the moment, First Blood's still on the board, and both teams kind of trying to play it cautiously enough to keep it alive, but also, of course, wanting to acquire it for themselves. They have to make a couple of plays here and there, and that's what Era's doing with those open wounds. Down in bottom, Quokova in a bad spot, and it looks like he will probably be dropped down here. Tries to Firefly up the cliff. The Impale doesn't come out. They actually don't have range on it. One more right click is all he needs. Oh, Firefly, perfect! Awesome play by Hani. That's what I'm talking about. Carapace inside the Firefly. That is stunned him out in perfect timing to get the Impale off up on the cliff. First blood for Hani. Easily has his bottle, moving in towards his Arcane Boots. No problem at all. Really nice maneuver. Okay, so we do see Alex ranking up the Shadow Poison to start things off. Goes for the Disruption onto Era. Might be a little bit of a feint, though. They might change targets right off the bat. No Tail has a lot of potential here. Black taking a lot of damage. Telekinesis, too much damage coming on through. Can he get out? He does pop out that Doppel. Use the Magic Sticks to survive, but that Sentry Ward was still allowing them to right-click down. No Tail taking a big hit. Nice Soul Rip, keeping him alive for the moment, but the Lance, too much. No Tail will drop. Now focusing down the Tombstone. 1 second, it will just expire of its own volition. Nevertheless, that was good retaliation, going for the Soul Assumption and the Spirit Lance. Long range on No Tail. Despite the good Soul Rip, it's not enough to keep him up when there's that much damage coming forth from now a level 5 Phantom Lancer. So Black, using that Magic Stick, is so instrumental for keeping him alive, and he's able to take a lot of heat as a result. Alright, so Bassi up on Quokova. He's going to be able to push out the tower if the Silencer ever leaves, but he seems here to stay. Trixie generally wants to just make sure he's farming, commit his Global Silence if he thinks it'll help his team, but in general, just keep on going for a bit high CS. He has actually been... Alright, so Quokova taking a few hits there, but no, what's curious about that is actually Silencer was close enough for the... Glaze of Wisdom to take effect. I didn't even realize that, but when Hani got him on the high ground, actually specifically, he's at another position where, despite popping his Tranquils, he's kind of out of position. We do see this transition up from the Brewmaster up top, but with only regular boots of speed, it's going to be hard to close the distance and make something happen. But anyways, what I'm saying is that Trixie, with the Glaze of Wisdom, he was actually in a position close enough in proximity to actually have sight of that kill and steal his intellect up, which helps him, of course, just out a little bit as far as last hit damage, getting off the ground as far as his huge right-click potential through the glaives. And it seems like because he's up against a Batrider, it makes a lot of sense that he does not actually want to go for that Curse of Silent. Quick pause coming on through, but let's see how these guys are going to proceed. It looks like there are 3 points already up on Visage. His nuke, the Soul Assumption, he has been leveling quite effectively because of all the kills that have happened in this lane. Switching back over to KDA real quick, and oh my gosh, I feel bad about that. Gets the last word off and is able to bring down the Batrider. Long range gets another couple of glaives available, but falls back from there. Now we see up on top lane, they're looking for that disruption. They really want to jump on in. They get it. They go for Era, and they're going to look to follow up with the Spirit Lance, but he does have that rage. And really, it's just a lot of mana down and not really too much follow-up, especially when PAS is unable to Soul Assumption him. So I'm always looking at this top lane. It's really hard to stay on tabs, keep tabs on towards the mid and the bottom, but one thing to keep in mind is that last word does insane amounts of damage. Every 12 seconds you can do as much as 300 damage. Actually, it's pretty much effectively exactly what it is, assuming you're counting the magic resistance as well. Either way, that is just, it's pretty out of this world how much lane presence he can acquire for himself, and that's just the kind of thing that Batrider can't afford to let happen. He is now sitting at level 6, but without Lasso, based on the fact that he needs to cast out those flame breaks and such to negate the disadvantages of being up against a Silencer in lane. So either way, he is going to be able to roam once he hits level 7, has that TP, can go for the Lasso pretty soon, but, you know, Silencer finding those solo kills is a big, big deal. Looking at the experience per minute, it adds up to 525 for the moment, and he has pretty much full control of the lane. Now going for a stacked up pull. He's actually had enough time to take care of his jungle in that regard, and he's having a pretty good time as a result. So transitioning on down, Alex is looking for an opportunity for the top room, but it will spawn bottom. Regeneration available for both. But bottle is filled for Honey. He's not going to look for it. It's going to be Fada that's taking a long, long walk, and it might actually cost him a bit of experience here. Alright, more sentry wards across. I'm not sure if they can see this obs just yet, but they do at least cover up this sentry ward here to keep control of the lane. Black knows it, has to be very, very cautious about how he runs his doppel in the near future. But still, very, very little in terms of kills for Fnatic. They got 1 on Trixie, they got 1 on Hani, but as far as the top lane goes, they're still kind of down. They have lost 1 to the Phantom Lancer, 1 to the Visage, and they really need this gank from Hani. This is the good positioning for him, but with pings coming out from Black, they know that something's up, and they're just going to fall back, turtle underneath the tower. And that is not a fight that the Team Fnatic is willing to take, at least I don't think so. Now going up on Arrow just a little bit, trying to bait him in so that Hani can jump. He doesn't want to pop his Vendetta yet. He knows he can't get that auto attack off without starting off with the Impale. So we'll see how this proceeds on through, but it's going to be Brew to actually transition down towards bottom lane and put some pressure out on the Silencer, presumably. Or not, either way. So, kind of the calm before the storm. 9 minutes in, here comes Hani jumping on. Black is in a bad spot. He does Magic Stick enough to get Doppelwalk available. Now comes Fata. All the Global Silence comes out, but Primal Split will still come forth. Black on okay life, and they're just going to force them off the tower, take the Tombstone. And a lot of insults thrown, but not too much as far as bruising goes. Back to last hits, we see 46 on both the Brewmaster and the PL, so that Bounce is actually feeling really, really well set in this regard, because they are not dying on the aggressive tri-lane. They're actually getting a couple kills here and there, and the only real threat is this gank coming in from Hani. Big damage from the Vendetta, and that's enough right there for No Tail to actually pick up his own little kill. It's, you know, decay contribution. But we do see here with the Grave Chill, they're going to look to go on Hani, and despite that Carapace, it looks like he's going to drop no problem at all. And now Soul Assumption following up on Fly. They don't have any follow-up disables though. Would have to pop off the Primal Split, and it's just not worth it for the support there. Down on bottom, big damage coming into Quokova, but Trixie can't follow it up necessarily. So just harassing him back off the lane, and he's going to have to use his Tranquil Boots yet again. Now double damage up on the Brewmaster, heading up towards the mid lane. Not too much to look at here. As Era is just dueling it out with Black, and he can do this with a Stout Shield, with the Feast, even rank 1. He can trade very aggressively, and Black should know this. He should be able to fall back, but it's not really very favorable for him if he has to fight very soon. PAS got that ultimate roll and going for the Familiars. They do tons of damage right now with this Grave Chill, with the Stone Form. No, just a Soul Assumption. They're going to be able to clean it up, no problem for PAS. Gonna actually start getting really out of control here. Even with his current build of 1-4-1-1, he is able to dish out a ton of damage extremely quickly. His survivability is through the roof with that Carapace. And now we see on bottom, the Lasso hits up on Trixie. He's pretty much out of cooldowns, and now he's going to get dropped down. last word does come out on Kvokova, but it's not going to do too much. As they just committed, 3 heroes are able to get the pick off there up on top. They get the stun on Illusion, unfortunately, even committing the mana burn, which is actually a lot, 130. So Honey getting throwing down a lot, but not getting much out of it. Fata picking up that Blink Dagger, farming all game for it, and now 11.5 minutes in, he's already raring to go with it. Familiar is forcing Hani back. He does get some poke at Black, but it's not deterring his farm. Sitting at 60 CS, he's high and dry, and raring to go on into mid-game teamfight phase. He's going to actually be able to pick up I guess a full defusal. He could go for Drum. I've seen a lot of PLs just rush Drum to be more combat ready, and I think with this Visage and how aggressive he's able to be right now, that's something they could easily pursue long term. Alright, so Lifestealer, it looks to be, he might have been looking for a Midas, but now has to be definitely considering a Maelstrom, as it's just been too long without too much farm. He's not able to get that much on top of things, and as far as last hits, I mean, he's sitting down at 56. Comparing that to the Phantom Lancer, he's only 3 behind. But when you compare that to the fact that he's been 0-0-0 this entire game, he's not really finding the farm that he needs. And so he'll be able to contribute a lot to aggressive plays. But as far as just being the #1 farmer, taking it to the late game against a PL, it's just not going to happen. He needs that Maelstrom, needs to go for that Lightning Cleave, and hopefully that'll work out for him. Blink comes in from the Brewmaster, but instead, Fly just jukes it on out. Southwest Vector, and he's able to just stay out of position there perfectly fine. And that's just, yeah, if they know that the Blink Dagger's up, he pops off almost all his mana for that clap and doesn't get it. It was a nice play for him if he had landed it, but instead he just really screws up an opportunity, unfortunately for him. You see a long pursuit from some illusions, but Hani could care less. And he's going to change his focus back towards the mid lane, towards his nemesis Fata, who is finally picking up something other than stats. We do see a dive up on top that's going to get a kill despite the tombstone coming on through. Nice open wounds, but the blink comes through too fast. Fata can't get too much to happen there. So a lot of stuff happening across the map. They're really looking for solo pickoffs, and it's hard to cover everything up here, but Undying just getting dived up, the Grave Shield being so instrumental in staying on top of that, and presumably landing a Stoneform or two to make sure of it. So either way, here comes Kvokova, trying to put some pressure on towards the mid lane, but he doesn't have that Blink Dagger yet, and is so reliant on Fata to get a Blink clap off. He does have 15 Magic Wand charges, and has that option available, but doesn't want to expend it just yet. Vendetta, rank 1 Nyx, but because of this dire Sentry Ward, they actually are fully aware of his positioning, and are just going to wait it out, because it doesn't last all that long, rank 1. Looks like they're leaving the Phantom Lancer to just farm away, and he'll take that opportunity to just use his Doppel and use the Phantom Edge juxtaposed to push up and split push up on the top lane here. So Black just kind of finding a small opportunity to put more pressure up on the top. Let's look at net worth a little bit. We see that PL is topping at 5,300, but Silencer's not doing too bad, 4,400, and I believe he's top of experience by far. So he's doing really well. Sitting at level 11 at this stage in the game is immense for him, and he's just going to keep that spree rolling if he can stay in the fights. He has only been involved in 2 kills, so only 4 Glaives of Wisdom stacks, but it's not really that big of a concern. As long as he's active in the subsequent team fights, he's always going to come out on top as long as he's not focused down. But the Visage is dramatically, like I've said before, really good. If he wants the Silencer to die, that's exactly what's going to happen in no time at all. Silencer has to go possibly for, yeah, he's going for a Mechanism just to survive for now, and probably a 4-staff or an Atos to follow. Blink's coming on down. They want to put pressure out, and with this, yeah, he actually is going to try to TP out, but it's just too much damage. Oh my gosh, again, he actually is able to get on out. So Trixie pulling a card out of Mouse's book from last game, and uses Global Silence and knows he can't be stunned out. TPing back to base, safe and sound. Fly, not doing too hot here. We've seen this happen on Rubik multiple times over, but 15 minutes into the game, he is only level 5. Doesn't have the chance to steal from the Brewmaster. Can't pick up anything from any other hero for that matter. So it's really limiting the potential of that hero in the early game. And now that we transition into teamfight phase, he's just kind of feeling very far behind. We do see Lifestealer going for that armlet. It's pretty much just a core item on him that'll give him that extra little bit of damage, that extra little bit of survivability, and the potential to make really cool plays with that toggle effect. But beyond that, he is going to be a little bit delayed if he wants to go for that Maelstrom and cleave down the illusions. And it kind of seems like they're building to completely ignore Black. Just go for a push, just go for overwhelming teamfight, and just put the pressure out in that regard. So Trixie will have that Mechanism in no time at all. Looks like Honey's going to put some damage on into Black, but It's going to be a little bit back and forth. He knows that black went for the Yasha, and without a Diffusal Blade, you can make those trades without having to worry about the repercussions of running dry on mana. Do you see Alex controlling that haste rune? Probably going to be picked up by the Brewmaster. Fata making his way there, no problem. And now we're going to see Quokova trying to be a little bit more mobile and active. The problem is he still only has 365 MS, no blink, and if the Brewmaster isn't there, he can't accomplish much. But luckily, they have a haste run on the Brewmaster, popping off the ultimate. No-Tail is going to take too much damage here. He dropped down immediately, and last right-click to finish the job. I don't really know why they're committing this much to him, as they got this guaranteed kill. But either way, finish him off nicely, and although they don't have the Demonic Purge any longer, they can still pursue on to the next objective. Silly stuff. One big thing here is they are distracting from the Phantom Lancer up top, so he can push down on the tier 1 up there. Keep an eye on that on your minimap, but otherwise we're going to see them all group up in mid for a lot of cluster action. Hani not falling for it, making his way right up top there as well. And he has almost that Necronomicon. He's going to be moving in towards a lot of damage potential and the ability to force the PL back repeatedly, at least until the Diffusal's online. Either way, a little bit back and forth, but not too much occurring between these two. They're really, really cautious about how they want to engage, doing a little bit of poking, a little bit of prodding, and getting some long-range harass on the occasion. But until Brewmaster is willing to blink in for a clap when he has the mana available, it's really not going to be seeing too much happen here, because the Bat Rider doesn't have his blink, and instead is getting harassed back and left and right from this last word. The lasso is still available, but he only has so much to work with here. Hani is in the mid lane. They want to really, really contest this tower. It's dropping quickly. They have the creep wave. No Keeper Light to stop it out, and they're going to actually go for it with this fortification popped. As soon as it's off, there's really nothing to stop them. They just need one more creep wave, and that is going to be a very prolonged but effective siege on this mid lane here. Back to net worth. We do see, actually, the Phantom Lancer falling down. Does he have something on the Courier to make up for that fact? And it does seem that he is going straight for that Diffusal Blade 100%. So you see his GPM topping out by far. But we also check out Fnatic going just balls to walls on this tower. And with a little bit of Tombstone action, they have full control. Can take down the tower, take down Visage possibly. Finding PAS all by himself. He summons Familiars again. And they will be able to get on out of there, but losing his life in the process. Not really great. PL getting that kill up on the top lane, getting the Diffusal Blade. And now, check out his net worth, back up to 8k, based on that tier 1 tower kill, and the time that he's been able to just farm. That's how Black likes to play. If he can get those big items, he can just ignore what's happening across the map until they bring the fight to him. And that allows him to take the late game very, very effectively. And right now, Fnatic doesn't have an answer for that. They don't have that much AoE damage. They have the Fade Bolt. They have a little bit with the Decay, Impale. It's not considerable. It really isn't. So until Maelstrom or Mjolnir comes out on Lifestealer, they're going to have to deal with this huge threat of illusions just spawning and all over the place and dealing a ton of damage. So I think they need to contest him before he moves in towards that harder task, or it may just be too late. Of course, he will be looking for that Manta style prior to that. Good action from the Carapace, but he is Demonic Purged up. Hani in a pretty bad spot, but he doesn't. There's really a bunch of non-commissional action here. They didn't really want to go all the way in. They knew that there were a bunch of people nearby. Even this, like Quokova, is just really scared out of his mind that he could be jumped in on at any point in time. And so he's not really going to be willing to take those chances, not when this much is on the line. It has kind of a psychological impact when you have lost a game and you're trying to pull it together with two games in a row straight to try to win the matchup. You're already fighting from behind, and you just want to play it as cautiously as possible. Any mistake you feel could cost you, and that's of course not a fate that you want to face, especially when you consider the current standings for Mouse Sports. Actually, we see Blink Initiation Fata going in. The Global Silence comes out, but too late. The Earth Panda already dealing a ton of damage on Trixie, increasing that damage with the Windwalk. We do see Quokova drop down before the lasso can do anything. Instead, Trixie is the focus target. Drop down hardcore. That's what I'm talking about. He will get a little bit of vision of one Glaive's kill, but the rest is completely just fallen by the wayside. Now Fata is trying to actually survive and get on out of here, but there's just too much damage. The Impale, the stuns, they're actually be able to clean everything up here. Open wounds on Alex means he's dead too. Full team wipe. Turn it around for Fnatic, and that's what happens when you walk in to a Tombstone and a Flesh Golem. Rank 4 Tombstone, rank 4 Flesh Golem, a couple of really great stuns from Fly and Hani, hitting the telekinesis very, very spot on, and actually stealing the Primal Split, which he didn't even have to use, even though he could have. So Fly is in a great spot right now. And yes, they did lose the silencer, but he got his global silence off. It disrupted the follow-up from all those disables for Mouse Sports across the board, and they easily clean up this tier 2 tower. So we're going to watch a big, big sweep going across, equalizing out the gold disadvantage they had prior, and same thing with the experience. Just coming right back up to snuff where they're on even playing field. That'll set up the Necronomicon 2 Necronomicon bought outright. Hani is going to move in towards that Necro 3 quickly, and from there, you can always see the PL. It's pretty much a walking gem of true sight, that little Necro dude, and it sets it up really nicely. I think mouz had the right idea by burning down Trixie. He didn't get much out of that fight. Like I said, Blades of Wisdom only hit 1 time as far as stacking up those charges. So he went from 6 to 8 as far as that int steal. But it's still losing 5 heroes. It's still 5 for 1 trade. And they put so much focus into him that they disregarded the fact that they were in a terrible position. The stuns from Hani, the zone control from No-Tail, it's just too much for them to deal with. And instead they walked into their own deaths effectively. They were just very, very confident in what could be accomplished from that Phantom Lancer. And instead, with good focus, dropping down Kokova before he could get that, the Flaming Lasso off, it just made it too powerful. It just made it too devastating for them. And now Lifesteal has finished up his Dezo, dishing out a ton of damage when you talk about that Armlet. And he doesn't really care about the AoE. You can tell this by his item buildup. He's like, screw it, there will be a lot of illusions going on, but my focus is just taking down the source of the problem. Taking down that PL when they have vision through the Necro 3 or through, I believe they have a gem. Yeah, Hani with a gem, same thing with Fata. And controlling those will be very, very important in the coming team fights.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
So, Infest inside Hani. They're raring to go. They're ganking up on black. They have that gem. Again, they see him right here going for the Vendetta, the Infest, everything coming on out. And they just stun him up and burn him down. No chance whatsoever. I don't even think they needed the gem. But anyways, turning things around on PAS. Big Soul Storms coming out, but it doesn't matter. I think he even hit on the creep. The Necronomicon. And now Fnatic picks up, we see No-Tail picking up a double kill. They clean up 2 people really, really quickly. 2 very, very core people that are instrumental in defending pushes. So now for 25 seconds, they have the whole range of the map. They can ward up aggressively, control the Ancients, push up on the tower, whatever they want to do. And it looks like they intend to put pressure out on this mid lane, as they have so many times before. They have to make this game end long term. They can't go for an hour-long game against the, again, Trixie with that play. It's a big cost at them. It's a big cost for them using a 130-second cooldown, but it does work and it keeps Trixie alive to keep fighting and make sure that mouz doesn't get a bunch of free money out of those exchanges there. Either way, looking back at net worth with all the kills that came out, the Lifesteal getting 2, 0, and 4, as well as 129 of his own last hits. He's adding up to a GPM of 439, which is actually outclassing the Phantom Lancer. Despite buying a straight Diffusal Blade, despite having that Yasha and almost towards that Manta, Black is just a little bit further behind Era, and that's not a place he wants to be whatsoever. Now again, in the 15-minute game, they're going to see this PL get out of control, too many illusions, they don't have the AoE to match it up, but for right now, they're in a gank mindset. They're in a push. Oh crap. Trixie's smoke was actually taken off by an auto attack. That really sucks for him. So Trixie really can't join in on this gank fest as effectively as he would like to. He's just going to have to push out the mid lane and be a little bit of a bait, but we go in. We see the action. They actually get out of the tombstone, though. Kokova with that blink dagger. Good trigger fingers. Fata in the fray, stealing up the clap. That's not really going to help you too much, Fly, and he gets locked down. Too many stuns and too much damage. Throwing up in the air, the silencer, and now Era's getting focused down hardcore. Big damage coming onto him, and they're falling so quickly. The tombstone down, and they can completely follow through on this. Again, the tornado. Such a long disable, and they can just go for a clap to follow this up. The stone form available as well. Trixie just going to get locked. He tries for the TP. They don't have stone forms. He's going to get out again. He just keeps doing it. Man, that's got to be frustrating for mouz Sports. As again, they set up such a nice team fight, and they do take 2 out of them, but they could have taken 3, and Trixie just going to walk away from it. Nyx Assassin actually looking to clean, and I don't know how that's possible. Necronomicon. It must have been a Necro. Let's look at his corpse. I would bet you that he killed a melee Necronomicon and took the true damage. I would bet that, because there's no other way. Like, Hani wasn't even close. His TP, I don't know. I'm just saying. That's ridiculous. If that's the case, especially, because, you know. Kokova. Anywho, I don't honestly know if that's the case, but that's the most reasonable thing I can come up with there, is killing a Necronomicon minion and taking the retaliation. Anywho, we do see regeneration picked up on Nyx, so he's going to be able to... No, actually, he's just using the one he's had 2 minutes ago. Either way, he has that gem. He's moving in towards Necro 3, has that finished up. Really great utility in that item. Haven't seen it recently a lot, but it's great in this situation because it reveals the Phantom Lancer, of course. It provides true vision in that sense, and along with that, they can push more aggressively. They've always been wanting to push aggressively. You saw that how desperate they were to take that tier 2 in mid. They were just sitting there for like 5 minutes at a time, poking away at it until they could bring it down, and now they have a lot more potential with this Necronomicon. Hani has a bunch more HP and mana to work with. They get this aura that provides 9 attack speed and 9 movement speed. So they're very, very mobile, very, very active. And from there, look how fast. With Desolator, Roshan is sitting at 0. And it's going to be difficult for them to snipe this. Instead, I think it's going to fall to Fnatic. Here come... Oh! It falls to the Radiant. Lifesteal still picks it up, so they get the Roshan 100%. They do commit their global silence to it, but there's no further action coming out of Mousesports. So there we see, thought to have that in Biz, but it didn't really help them in that situation. And yeah, although they did some good attempts to disrupt it, it just fell too quickly. They couldn't get their bearings on that situation and really couldn't turn it around. And now we see Lifesteal actually picking up another big item, the Vladimir's Offering, which it seems a little bit redundant given the fact that he already has ways to heal through Feast, through Open Wounds, but adding in another instance based on base damage means that he can do that much more and also provide a powerful aura to Silencer. They're not looking for AC for a long, long while, and so for right now, giving the +5 armor to the Silencer, who with the mechanism is sitting currently at 13, I believe. 15, good at math. But that 13 when you don't count the Basilius. And pretty much what that means is that he can go in and get that Vladimir's aura and amplify that by 3 and set up himself to take a lot of really, really big beating, give him that much more survivability, even if Lifestealer and Undying and Nyx are the only ones that benefit from the lifesteal. Either way, now they're going to try to defend on the mid lane. It's not deniable just yet, but if they can hold the line here, they're committing a lot of time. Mousesports putting all the 5 heroes in the mid lane here instead of having Black farming away because they can't recall him in. He has to be where the action's happening, and they're just going to use the illusions to try to bring this down quickly. Looking for deny. Trixie with a lot of base damage. Same with the Necro minions, and Lifesteal gets it. Era finishes it off, and now look at this small army of Necronomicon just going on through with this mana burn and trying to frustrate the heck out of them. That is Silencer's Necro number 2 and Nyx's Hani's Necro number 3. So they're stacking those up, trying to get as many of those as possible. And once they start getting, like, if they go for like a 5-man Necro lineup, then they could easily push down towers without even like looking at them. It's pretty ridiculous what they can accomplish there. But just benefiting from the aura, benefiting from the stats. Silencer needs intellect, he needs health, gets both of them from that, and of course adding in that much more frustration to Mousesports in general. Any kind of incidental damage will be really, really paid him back in full with the Last Will, I think it's called, something like that, from the Necronomicons. Alrighty then, so Phantom Lancer moving in towards some durability now, has the Manta, has the Diffusal, needs to start moving in towards that Vitality booster, towards the Heart of Tarrasque, because if he can't get some stability for his illusions through HP, then he's not really going to be able to accomplish too much as far as staying in the action. There's just enough damage coming out from everybody across the board that they make an impact, but the more life they have, I mean, you could easily double their effective health with a Heart of Tarrasque. It's just a huge, huge difference as far as what you can get on out of it. Now we do see, as far as levels go, that nobody's hitting 16 just yet. The rank 3 ultimate heading its way for PL and for the Silencer. I'd say it's more impactful for the Silencer specifically. But Black is having pretty much a heyday up on the top lane. He does only have 1 TP scroll, has to make sure that he's using it at the right timing. But beyond that, it's just a tier 2 for a tier 2 exchange. Of course, PL getting a little bit of extra farm for himself is going to help him out long term. It looks like Hani getting infested up. They're looking for some Nakes Bomb action, and Black is still here. I'm not sure exactly what he's thinking. They first think that he might be at the Ancients, but instead moving on through into the enemy jungle. It's going to be a long wild goose chase that won't really pan out for them long term, though, because actually we did see Black heading on down here, invisible for the moment, and just kind of playing around. And actually, they're going to realize this is real. The question is, as far as the Vendetta's timing, it does have a long cooldown. But actually, well, no, I should say it has a relatively short cooldown, but it doesn't have a long enough duration to actually make it as valuable as it should be. So coming along, they find him out. They go for the infest, they go for the burn, they have the Gem of True Sight, and they're actually going to be able to finish this off. He pops the Manta, goes for the run. He does distract him a little bit, but there should be enough damage here. They have the mana burn at least from that Necronomicon Archer. Good micro there, and they just take him down. And that completely halts all the farm he just earned on the top lane. It just shuts him down hardcore because that's a big death. I was just talking about him being level 15. So you add that up and that's 450 gold down the drain. And he does pick up his Reaver. He's good there, but I don't know. It's just delaying that heart more and more. So So pushing up on the mid lane, taking an opportunity to try to put some pressure out there, but they have to actually breach high ground. That's pretty much what they're looking at now. That kind of pick, if the lanes were in a better position, would easily result in a tier 3, but now they have to fight for it. They have to go much more hardcore on this, popping off all the Necronomicon minions, and just kind of throwing them on in. So we'll see how it works out there. And that will be really, really effective for them if they can stay on top of things, but the disruption does come out for Era for the moment. He's going to take quite a few damage, has to right-click away to keep his lifesteal rolling, and instead he's taking a lot back and forth, tanking up the tower, tanking up the Fade Bolt. He is getting backed up though, and he's okay for no, but then Quokova comes in, and he will lose his Aegis Immortal in this death if he doesn't armlet toggle perfectly. Instead, Black getting focused down. That Gem of True Sight, so instrumental, as well as the fact that they have that Necronomicon 3. So, just going to be able to burn them down, no problem at all. And it looks like there is Fly, having some fun flying on around on his Firefly, but now we are seeing that Hani is going to get stunned up a little bit by the Panda, and they're going to look to put some pressure on Era, but he still has that Aegis. He is still raring to go to fight this up and gets a kill on the Fire Panda looking for the Earth, where I don't know where the Wind one went, but if it's already down, then that is going to be the death of Panda. He is here either way, stunned up, mana burn down, and there's nothing really going to be accomplished here. He's going to get dropped. Now, has to buy back. They want to hold these racks, but it's going to be difficult without the Phantom Lancer to output some damage. Lifesteal gets a kill on the Visage. Now, the stolen Rublings going on through and just ready to dish out tons of damage. Nice defensive disruption. Alex keeps him up for the moment. Kokova can run, but he cannot hide, and there's just too much damage. The Blades, the Mana Burn, Hani finishing it up, and the racks will fall. It's just been a long time coming, but even with this Kokova's buyback, they won't be able to retaliate in time. The best they can hope for is one cleanup kill. Looking for one individual, but Brewmaster is not willing to commit, and not with those zombies on him. He cannot blink away, and instead they walk out. They lose the Rubik, but well worth it for the pickoff of the melee racks. Range racks, you know, whatever. But one thing I want to highlight on, check out Silencer's stacks now. He went up from 8 Glaives of Wisdom, Intelligence Stolen, to now up to 16. He is sitting on 130 Intellect, and from there he does not only gets 100% physical damage from that, but he also gets an increase of 75% pure damage on top of that with the Glades of Wisdom active. So every single point of intellect there really, really directly scales into how much damage he can deal right off the bat. So he's doing a lot, and even Black doing what he can, but the Heart of Trask has been delayed so much. Coming on through, he will inevitably pick it up, but it's been such a long time coming. He should have had it like at the 25-minute mark, but he played a little bit aggressively, and Hani and Era together made him pay for it. And dying a second time in that exchange really, really didn't help him in his case in that situation either. Blink Dagger up on Nyx, a very, very high utility item, and a perfect pickup to follow through after that Necro. You blink in, you get the Impale off Carapace if you need to, and follow through with a bunch of mana burn through your own ability in conjunction with that of the Necronomicons. I gotta say, just kind of looking at the goal graph right now, looking at the experience as well, it feels Fnatic has a huge amount of control in the game. Now, if any carry can take it to the late game, it's going to be that Phantom Lancer, but right now, 7,500 advantage, although it is plateauing out right now, is pretty substantial in Golden Experience, especially when you could count this Rax that has been taken down. Mouz is not out of it yet, but they are going to have a tough time going for a Roche engagement. I think that's going to be the main factor here. Roche respawning in just 2 minutes. They're going to be looking at that. Meanwhile, I'm looking at this massive army of Phantom Lancer illusions. Just, oh my gosh, they can self-propagate so quickly that just a little bit of luck allows you to put crazy pressure on the tower. But we do see going on in that they're just going to take this range Rax with no trouble at all. Their Mouse Sports isn't even willing to retaliate. It's not worth their lives. And Era will be able to finish it off, no problem.
Dire's middle barracks has fallen.
Black is down in the action here, maybe trying to do some split push action. For the moment, he is actually just running Tranquil Boots. Does not have Boots of Travelers, so every single time he has to TP back to his base, he is actually kind of losing out a little bit consumable by consumable, but he almost has that heart. He just needs a little bit more gold. It costs, I believe, 2,300 from what he needs. And he is very, very close, but so far away when you compare it to the pressure that's coming out with these Necronomicons already up. They're raring to go up on this tower. Era taking the first blows on it. He actually has the Lincoln Sphere, negating Quokova's output for the Flaming Lasso. Quokova blinks on in, but doesn't find Trixie, just short of it, and instead, he's just going to walk away. Meanwhile, we do see Napalm stolen by Rubik. Kind of low impact. Black finishing off this tier 2 tower quickly, and he can TP back. So Phantom Lancer is going to be back on in for this one unless he goes for the tier 3. Speaking of, Silencer finishing off on the last hit here, and this is going to be the fight that makes the difference. Arrows Lincoln's once again popped, just keeping that down. PAS doing a good job of that, but now they're going to go in for the kill. The Global Silence pops off. They burst down the melee Rex, and they're just going to go on the run. Gotta find something to infest to, or not even care. Literally, they're just going to walk away from this, and this is the second time it's happened. PL Illusion's kind of standing by the side and not really accomplishing much, but it's kind of a feint. Hani and Era are ready to go for this next fight. They're infested in. He has the Blink Dagger, the Vendetta up. Big damage output, and we'll have to see if anybody falls for it. But for the moment, it seems like they're just going to hold on to their base and stay in a defensive position with these sentry wards up. Good timing of these sentry wards. Mousesports needs them if they're going to be able to survive against this Nyx Assassin, but they've still lost half their racks. They've lost 2 melee and 1 ranged, and of course that's going to be putting them really far behind. Black has that heart finished. Now what's he going to go for? He is actually has the Diffusal 1, the Manta heart. He can be either going for a butterfly or that second Diffusal blade, just ranking it up a little bit. One thing I'll have to note is that he hasn't really used the charges very effectively. Like, he's still sitting on 8 on a Diffusal 1. He's had this all game long, and he hasn't really used it aggressively. He hasn't gone in any team fights. You actually look at his KDA, and despite his 17k net worth, he's sitting only at 1, 4, and 5. He just doesn't want to commit to this kind of stuff. Speaking of, oh, big damage coming out on that True Strike after they blew up the Necrominion. Is that a, I'm not sure if they Midas that or what exactly happened there, but this is just taking it out one way or another. Maybe it was Kokova, I don't know. One of the Necronomicon minions just got evaporated immediately. I'm not sure exactly what the interaction was there, but now Black being focused down. He does Manta outside the open wounds. Now on the back end of things, Brewmaster wants that clap, but he doesn't have mana. He almost gets it, but there's just too much burst. They finish him off. Hani going in for the kill, looking for Black. There is a buyback of the Brewmaster. He's TPing in to go for that clap, still available, but turning things around. They're kind of back and forth. Alex gonna be the target of choice. Kokova coming in, lasso on arrow. This is what they need to burst him down. Black getting some good right clicks in with the Soul Catcher active, burning him. The Demonic Perch is raged, and he is barely going to be able to escape inside the Hani. Just infests on out, blinks away. He is safe and sound. And although they may actually have to forfeit this Roche, at least they didn't lose their number 1 carry. 4 staffing away, No Tail still up, still on the run, and there's nothing to stop him. Black does not have stuns. Nobody has stuns. He can at least TP out, if not just walk away from this. Flame break up, last cooldown. Oh, no. Okay. Kokova just actually used a Napalm Sack, ran out of mana for Flame Break. That's exactly what happened. Because he had the mana for Flame Break when I last clicked on him 1 second before that. It was coming off cooldown in 1 second. He was about to get the Flame Break. And then No Tail just finishes off his TP. No problem at all. So Kokova, bit of a misplay there, and they called a good game. It's a weird way to end it, but I mean, it's just too much pressure. The Roche is now back under their control. They got the pick up on the Visage outside his base, finished him up, and it looks like that's it. Disconnecting on out, and good game, well played. Mouse is out. That is pretty much it. And from there, they know it's up. That is completely it. 6-1 and 9. Hani on the Nyx Assassin. Look at that goal graph. I mean, they just had this huge advantage. And though that was a little bit anticlimactic, this matchup in general has been so very aggressive, active, dynamic, really well played. And nobody's like throwing lives away. They're not like dying for no reason at all. Everybody's playing it very safe until they see this narrow window. They just get their foot in the door, widen on open. Fnatic jumps on in for so many successful team fights, coming out on top. So really nice action. That is going to be it for this best of 3 series here. Fnatic takes it up against Mousesports. So that was really awesome play. It was only 2 games because this is game 2. Fnatic winning the first one, winning the second one, and taking the series 2-1. This time around, Mousesports did have their full lineup, but unfortunately just weren't able to come on top of it. So, nice initiation attempts. Brewmaster and Batrider had those blinks, had action there, but even with a 495 GPM Phantom Lancer, they had so much detection for him. They had gems, they had Necronomicons, they had everything in the book to make sure that 100% Phantom Lancer could not escape. You slow him down, you stun him up. He didn't go for BKB, as PLs generally don't. And from there, unless he could Manta out of the slow, he was locked down 100%. And they just followed through. They burned him down, and he never really got going, despite his massive amounts of farm. So unfortunate for them, but that's just how it goes. Fnatic take it 2-0. And one thing I didn't mention, because I wasn't sure if this was going to go to Game 3 or not, but those that are viewing in Dota TV, those that are viewing on the stream in just a few minutes, we're going to have on the stream something called Ask the Pros. It's a post-match interview. You can jump on the live stream, which is twitch.tv/thepremierleague, and jump into the chat. Ask your questions, and I'll pick out some of the best ones to ask. I'm probably going to go with No Tail. I just pretty good rapport with him either way. But yeah, we're going to pull in one of the Fnatic boys and get some awesome commentary and insight coming out from them. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was an honor to count for you guys. I especially love that game 1, but game 2, not too shabby. Nice play across the board, and although they had a shaky start with the landing phase up top, Trixie really pulls it out with that silencer. Great build up with all the Necro books. The silencer ultimate just completely tore apart their team fights. And of course, in the end, they take the win 39 minutes into the game. Very well played to them. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is Blaze of the Premier League, and I'll either catch you guys on the live stream or catch you guys on Sunday. That's going to be at the standard time of 20 o'clock Central European Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and it is going to be a game of, it looks like, Absolute Legends versus Team Liquid, so that should be very awesome, and catch you guys in the next one.